Record-breaking Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Jamaica this afternoon. It's now already crossed to the other side and back into the open waters, heading for southeastern Cuba. We're going to have all the latest on that. Plus, we've got a new storm system coming into the eastern part of the United States that's going to bring a shot of solid rain for the mid-Atlantic and the northeastern U.S. So we will get right going here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Shop on Amazon. Use our referral link that's pinned to the top of the chat board, also on the description to this podcast. Just use it to do your own shopping. And Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. It's nothing out of your own pocket. It's all out of theirs. And it keeps the live stream commercial free. So we appreciate very much those of you who have shopped our referral link on Amazon. And a weather station for you, Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The weather station is very easy to install. You don't need any special place for it. You can just put it outside just about anywhere that's convenient. And there's a coupon code for this, Joe Rayo.
Yes, there is. And the coupon code happens to be Autumn 2025.
And if you use it,
you will get from the revolutionary Tempest Weather Company 10% off anything you purchase from Tempest. So there you go. It's a good deal.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Sorry for the delay, but I have an electrician in the house because I've been getting my kitchen redone. So I needed some electrical upgrades to put in. So that's... If you see somebody walking behind me, that's who it is. So, anyhow, Melissa, going to go down in the record books. They're going to retire it. No, there's no question that the name's going to be retired. I have to tell you, some of the observations that I was looking at, not just the surface observations, but just above the surface. I mean, winds at like incredible speeds of 200, 225, 250 miles an hour. Yeah, you had to go up a bit in height, but you didn't have to go that far. And the pressure got down to 892, which is going to probably, I don't know what the record is for the lowest pressure at landfall, but it's certainly going to be up there in the top 2 or 3.
At landfall, I can't tell you. I think the lowest pressure, and we talked about this last night, was Wilma in the Atlantic Basin, 888, but that was not at landfall.
Right. I think the Labor Day storm in 1935, I think that was either 895 or 892. I'm not sure. I used to know these things off the top of my head, but now I can't seem to remember. But if this is not the lowest, it's darn close. And they're actually not going to really know for sure until, as they mentioned in the discussion, is going to be an extensive post-analysis that they're going to be doing with this to try to figure out what was the lowest pressure at land, what was the pressure at landfall, what were the top winds. But I looked at some live cameras, the ones that were still working, and it wasn't in Jamaica, and it was not pretty.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. This is going to be one for the record books. And yeah, after they sit down with all the observations, they may very well lower the pressure even more based upon analysis. So it is a pretty amazing system, Joe, and more to come. That's what they used to say on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. More to come. This more will be for eastern sections of Cuba and eventually the Bahamas, and eventually no one seems to be. It's a funny thing. Sometimes several days in advance they speak of, Bermuda's right in the path of the, but everything, I mean, Bermuda is like, we'll take care of that later.
Well, they're the fourth, they're the fourth one in line, because you have Jamaica, then you have Southeast Cuba, then you have the Southeast Bahamas, including the Turks and Caicos Islands, and then you have Bermuda. So there's still work. This storm's got more work to do.
Absolutely. And before we forget, since there's so much to talk about in such a short interval of time, don't want to forget the fact that our friend Joseph Carr has hit the chat the tip jar on Super Chat tonight, and we want to thank him very much for that. Thank you very much, Joseph Carr.
I'm switching loops. I want to go back. I'm going to put 80. I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to put 84 frames on this, and it's going to take a moment to load. Figured the enhanced loop would be very dramatic. And the first shot here is from 9:40. So this was at 5:40 a.m. Eastern time. I mean, at this point, it was down to, I believe, when I woke up this morning on the first advisory, I think it was 9:06 when I looked, but or nine. Yeah, I think it was 9:06, and then at 8 o'clock it was down to 9:01. But the eye. I mean, did somebody go in there with a compass and just like make an absolutely perfectly circular eye? Because it is it's so dramatic and just so impressive. All right, hopefully these missing frames. This is the one thing I don't like about this. Sometimes they get these frames that are missing, and they just have to fill themselves in. But there you go. I'm going to give a quick refresh because I just wanted to get this really dramatic shot up. But yeah, I mean, this was about 6 hours, 7 hours before landfall, and I guess the one thing is, I mean, Kingston is on the southeast side of the island. It went over the western part of the island, which really put the eastern part of Jamaica in the worst quadrant. But
Right.
it kept the strongest winds away. I did see one gust, and I can't remember the name. It's a resort that you see that little nudge that sticks out there on the south coast there. They had a gust to 139 miles an hour. I don't even know. I can't even comprehend that.
I can't even believe that the anemometer is still there.
Yeah, well, there weren't a lot of obs that I could find because station after station was getting blown away.
Well, I mean, we knew that was going to happen. We knew with a storm of that potency, and again, it's been a 1-2 punch. They first have had the heavy rainfall. Today was the day that they were going to experience the tremendous winds, and that is what is doing the job, is the winds on the island right now.
And by the way, it was worth the wait now because I got all the loop. It was only one missing frame, but you can actually look. The eye shrunk down even more from that first shot. It must have been only about 7 or 8 miles in diameter. I mean, whenever I look at these loops, if you look at the center, you can actually see the spiraling clouds on the inside. I mean, it's like almost like watching water go down a drain. Really impressive. Now, Jamaica's got high terrain, and the center has been obviously disrupted to a large degree. It's now clearly out over the open waters again. There's only a narrow window of time between Jamaica and when it reaches the south coast of Cuba. So I don't know how much strengthening. And when these storms do move over land and they do move back out over the water, they do have, they are disrupted to a point where they don't instantly strengthen right away. If conditions in the aloft remain favorable, it needs time to just kind of reorganize a bit. That might prevent this from getting stronger again, or if it does, it'll just be minimally because of the fact that it's got just a relatively short distance to travel between now and when it hits the south coast of Cuba, probably, I guess sometime late tonight or tomorrow morning.
The mountain range across Jamaica that the hurricane has interacted with, on average, has mountains of 6 to 7,000 feet high. The highest peak is Blue Mountain Peak. That is at 7,400 feet. I'm not sure where Blue Mountain is, if it's in the east or the west or whatever, but it does give you a good idea that that's what the hurricane interacted with as was crossing Jamaica today. And you're right, Joe, there's not much time now between the time it moves back out to sea, gets its feet wet, and it interacts with the eastern part of Cuba before it again will get knocked down a few pegs in terms of wind. But you can see that there are some signs that it looks like it's trying to regenerate. The eye is trying to get, come back a little bit again after it has passed over Jamaica earlier today.
So it goes in at 892. right? And there it is. And then it goes out. I mean, it really only spent a few hours. It only took it a couple of hours to cross the whole, that whole side there. And I just going to make a point because I put the latest recon up there. So landfall was roughly at about 1600, comes out. So basically about 4 hours to cross that section, and now back out of the open waters. Let's be a little generous, 4 to 5 hours. The pressure went from 892 to 953. So it rose 61 millibars in 4 hours. Uh, that's how much, that's how much of an impact Jamaica has had on the storm itself. But it's still probably a very strong Category 3. The new advisory is probably going to be out shortly, so I'll see what they're doing with that. And at 8 o'clock, so they're carrying a 125, 18.8, and 77.2. Moving northeast at 8 miles an hour. It's 50 miles east northeast of Montego Bay in Jamaica, and 160 miles southwest of Guantanamo Bay. They're carrying a pressure of 950 millibars. So we'll see if it winds up dropping again. I don't think you're going to see it get back down into the 890s. I don't think there's enough time. And some of the circulation is over eastern Cuba, which is also mountainous. So, again, if it strengthens, it'll probably be, it might strengthen a little bit. It's still going to be a strong Category 3, or it might even be a 4 again, briefly, before it makes its second landfall.
Well, whatever. It's all I heard all through the day today. Category 5, Category 5, and there's somebody out there, some reporter,
Yeah, and a few
probably
people,
say something. Yeah,
a couple.
I'm going to say some reporter is probably going to say, well, good news, it's down to a Category 3, so there is some good news out there. What's good news? Have you
I
ever been
know,
in a Category 3 hurricane?
I
Do you
know.
realize what a Category 3 can do to you?
Yeah.
It's a pretty significant storm, even though it's no longer at the top of with a
Well,
Category 5.
the absolutely silly Category 6 question has come up again, and I keep coming back to the fact that it's when the way labels are categorized. 5 is considered catastrophic. What's left? Okay, you want apocalyptic? What's the difference? Catastrophic from a human perspective is enough. So that's a silly. That to me that's just a silly thing. You could make 15 categories if you want. They made 5. 5 makes sense. It's pretty simple, and we'll just go from there. I think there was
A lot of storms. I don't want to use the word, but I'll use it anyway. Struggle to make it up to a Category 5. 5 for most storms is really the top of the list at 155 or so. It is very unusual. You see few and far between storms like this make it to 175 or one, and that's why people are saying, "Well, why is it Category 6?" There's no Category 6 because storms of this magnitude make up only a small fraction, a tiny fraction of the overall hurricanes that
right.
are categorized or whatever. It says no need to do a Category 6, as you just alluded to.
It's yeah, it's just silly. Okay, we did have another super chat hit, by the way. Actually, is Savage Stuff. Savage Stuff 20 hit the tip jar, and we thank you very much for that. I've got the U.S. satellite loop right now, and of course, we have another storm system that's coming in for the eastern part of the United States, and you can see the clouds that run up and down the entire Mississippi and Missouri River valleys from Louisiana all the way up to Minnesota, and that's coming eastward. I love how this satellite loop looks because you got a storm that's off southeast of Cape Cod. You got this next system that's diving down out of Canada through the plains. It's going to wind up in northern Mississippi, and before this is all said and done. You have the hurricane that's sitting on the north side of Jamaica, and then you've got this cutout of clear skies in upstate New York and northern New England, all the way back into much of the Great Lakes and on into eastern Canada. It's like, it's sort of like these giant puzzle pieces are in there, and they're just all moving around. It's just an impressive satellite with what's going on. We also have a system that's coming into the west, and that's bringing in some heavier precipitation into the Pacific Northwest. If you look closely on the upper left, you can see the rotation there, and that's going to be moving eastward as well. But the main player, of course, is our next storm system that is coming eastward. And when we check out the radars tonight, which have some precip to them, now there's some light rain offshore, well south of Long Island, but some patchy light rain in parts of coastal New Jersey, coastal southern New Jersey, down to Delaware and the Delmarva. Gets a little heavier in eastern North Carolina. And then you got all the rain that's with the next system from Minnesota down to Louisiana, some thunderstorms, and even a little bit of severe weather going on in parts of Louisiana as the front there moves east. And you're beginning to see some heavier rain coming in to British Columbia and Vancouver Island, and kind of touching the northwestern points of Washington State. Rainfall, courtesy of WPC, still going for a pretty solid rainfall. The rain with the system, I think, is going to come. It looks like one of these 6 to 8 hour things, where the real rain is going to be, if you want to call it that. And WPC is saying at least 1.5 to 2 inches, maybe a little bit more, and perhaps 2 to 3 inches or more in upstate northern New York and in Maine. And northern New England, which has been under a really severe drought, could do pretty well with this.
Yeah, they could use it. This is one case where they could really use all that precipitation. As I said yesterday, and also on Sunday, what we're going to see locally here, really, you can bundle it all into a 6 or 8 hour interval, as Joe just alluded to. And I think, Joe, probably sometime between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 o'clock in the evening on Thursday. That 6 hour time frame is going to be when we're going to be seeing, moderate to heavy to maybe even torrential showery rains. Don't be surprised. There could be some cracks of thunder in the midst of all of that. Gusty winds to over 30 and 35 miles an hour. So it's going to be a windswept, gusty, heavy rain. I say to you, all of you now, who might be on the way home from work or school in that 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock time frame on Thursday, be advised, this is going to be one of the more difficult commutes home that you've had so far this year, or at least so far since the last winter. It is going to be a case where we're going to be looking at some, again, heavy windswept precipitation. But once we're past 8 o'clock, Joe, I think while we'll still have lingering showers around, I think the worst of it will be behind us by then. And hopefully for Halloween, maybe not too bad. Maybe a leftover shower here and there, but more often than not dry with a lot of lingering or leftover clouds, and then a continuation of gradual improvement into the upcoming weekend.
All right, so here's what it looks like on the European. You can see Melissa in the Southeast Bahamas by later tomorrow afternoon and evening, running northeastward to Bermuda. The next storm, the low, as I said, drops down into Mississippi, kind of rotates a bit because it's a strong upper air trough there, then winds up going up the Appalachians. There'll probably be there's an occluded front, and there's probably going to be a low at the point of occlusion, maybe in southeast Virginia, Thursday morning. That's going to lift northward, and you can see how the European breaks out this band of very heavy rains ahead of it as it sweeps northward. And by late Thursday afternoon or evening, it'll be moving out, and then weather conditions improve. The gradient's kind of tight on Friday. I mean, it's somewhat tight ahead of it, but I don't think it's happening so quickly that I don't think it should cause any big problems with respect to coastal flooding. Maybe some minor coastal flooding at high tide during the day on Thursday. But then we're going to go into a kind of a strong northwesterly wind for Friday, I wonder, could it be we may have wind advisory criteria here? Not sure, but certainly going to be getting gusts, I think, at least into the 30s with this on the backside.
Yes, absolutely. A gusty and strong northwesterly wind, and out ahead of it, and I call this the crowbar effect because what we're going to have on Thursday is actually an occluded front, a triple point actually, between a cold front, an occluded front, a warm front, and the whole thing is going to lift from south to north across our area. And what's happening is that this frontal boundary or boundaries is trying to buck that big high pressure system to the north. And as it pushes in and pushes, you get that tightening gradient. Then comes all of that precipitation, and literally it is like taking an atmospheric crowbar and literally prying all of that moisture in and through our area. And once we finally get through it, which will be again sometime later Thursday evening, most, if not all, of the precip will be over. But again, the winds will turn. They're going to be going into that strong and gusty northwest direction, and they'll be busy, not only for Friday, but even into the beginning of the weekend as
I
well.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Most of the country, except for the corners, are going to be dry at the end of the week and going into the weekend, so that's good. We do have some. We're going to have some cooler air. It's not a terribly cool shot, but it's definitely a cooler shot of air behind it, and then that goes out. And as we move into next week, it looks like we'll, at least if the world of the European is right, it looks to be somewhat on the quiet side, and there'll be a weather front maybe around the middle of the week, but it doesn't do very much. And then something else, another something more important, maybe toward the end of next week or next weekend. So next week during the week, if the European is correct, looks somewhat calm. I'm going to give a quick look to the GFS here. The GFS is a little, let's see. So then that goes out. It's got another system that drops into the Gulf states here, which it tries to do something with on Tuesday, November 4th. The European's not doing much with this. It leaves it behind. So we'll have to see how real that is. And the GFS has it turning significantly colder behind it on Wednesday. In fact, it's got snow up in upstate New York and lake effect going on at the end latter part of next week. And then we've got another low with another front. But first things first, we got the system for Thursday, and we're going to deal with that. And then we'll head into the weekend. At least the weekend itself is looking pretty good for most places in the eastern part of the U.S. Aside from the wind. So I'm going to have to cut the show short tonight because I do have all this work going on. So I got to kind of get back to it. So I apologize for that because we normally go at least 35 or 40 minutes. So we're just going to cut it a little short tonight, and we'll be back with a regular show, normal length tomorrow night at 7:35. Again, I apologize for the late start, but sometimes things happen, and that's just kind of how it is. Um, any
That's what it's
added
like being a
final thoughts,
homeowner.
Joe?
No, I've just said that's what sometimes it's like being a homeowner. You have to attend to various things in the house.
Yep. And I needed some work done. So,
Yep.
all right, everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.